And good morning to you on this Monday, March the 9th. It is 6:02 Eastern Standard Time. We hope things are going well for you. Happy Monday. I know you probably don't think about it that way, but it is your Monday, and you might as well take it and kick it and conquer it and make it yours. Do not let it take you. Last Monday jumped all over me. Took my wife to the hospital, and she stayed there for 4 days. So right after the show, she just didn't seem herself, and spent a few days there. In the end, after all of the rigmarole, she still has a lot of health issues that she's battling. What they originally put her in for, they said might not have even been that. So they said it's hard to tell. So she got some rest, although I think it made her weaker. She got a lot of testing done. They tested everything. Nothing had changed. So I don't know what it gave me a chance to, I guess, get a lot of documentation, new scans, whatever. But her strength is coming back a little bit better being at home. It always does. You're at home and you're not laying in a bed. You're moving a little bit. She doesn't move a lot, but she moves more at home than she does there. So anyway, prayers for my wife. It's good to be here. I'm Cornbread Man, Dave in the AM with you. We appreciate you being here. Let's kick off today with the best thing, and that is the Word of God. I love this image. Let's share that as we look at our Bible verse of the day. And I always love to kick things off with that. There we go. John 1:12. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God. Amen. Even to them that believe on his name. Even though I threw the amen in there, that certainly fits. Absolutely. I always love the verse, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us that we should be called the sons of God. So anyway, kicking off your Monday with a Bible verse. That way, even if you didn't read your Bible today, you get at least one verse if you come here. So every so often we forget. We try not to do that on the morning show, but we try to get that to you. It's a great way to kick your day off. We say here, get up, pray up, and coffee up. And so we've gotten up, praying up, and we are coughing up. I've got my little cheap solo coffee cup. It's not I got coffee cups, but I need to bring them back down here. And on that note, we are brought to you by, boy, I'm so glad we got the branding right on it again. The same great coffee, but we got our Wolf Nation logo. We're Patriot Nation, Wolf Nation, Cornbread Nation, Cornbread Nation Radio, Southern Patriots, Patriot, and all that stuff all falls under the banner of the Southern Patriots Media Group. And anyway, the Wolf Nation coffee, man, this is the Bali Blue, and it smells so good. You can get this 12-ouncer for less than $20. Less than. That's shipping included. Shipping included. But it is good to be here. Hello, Grandpa. Well, Spotty Rudra, or Dre, however you say your name. I am a grandpa. And so, yeah, it's a term of endearment. So good morning to you. I have people that have adopted me as grandpa. Their grandfather passed on and was asked to be, I'm a papaw, not grandpa. Nobody calls me grandpa unless they're trying to pick at me. Nobody calls me that. So thanks for that. It's like, grandpa. Sometimes I'll hear that. I'm either a pawpaw or a papaw. That's it. There's nothing else. When they want to say grandpa, it's when they want to pick at me. If music on the radio, they say, that's some of your old grandpa music from back in the day. Or they'll say, you watch your old grandpa shows like Gunsmoke or something like that. They'll say, that's one of them old grandpa. They like to pick at me that way. I said, that's right. I count it an honor that my granddaughter knows who Matt is. We used to, she's older now, and we would still talk about it if a situation came up. But me and the granddaughter especially, I have interactions with all of them, some more than others because I don't see them as much. But the one that lives with me, has been with me for almost 12 years now. We're coming up on 12 years. She's lived with me. She'll be 14. We used to sit and have these discussions about use of force and stuff. As a very young child, we would talk about that. We would see something on TV in a show, and we would talk about proper gun etiquette, what guns were for, what they were not for. We were having those discussions way back. And so, my granddaughter, she got a very much an older conversation. Not that we should have those anytime. I mean, age appropriate. But as we saw new things, we would talk through the ethics of something, the Christianity of something, the legalities of certain things. We would talk about that. So she's very observant. She notices things that sometimes a lot of adults do not notice. She's very much a people. She watches people. She watches their actions. And if someone's acting a little, weird or whatever, she picks up on that really quick and is aware of her surroundings. She was telling me last night she was out on her phone and just kind of walking around. And there's a church a couple doors down. And, I did it when I was a kid. We walk down there and just walk around. And it's a place to talk and just, it's open ground. And she was telling me somebody pulled in, it was kind of weird. They'd passed by a couple of times. So she came home and I was like, absolutely. So she couldn't tell me that. So anyway, raised her to be observant that way. All right. National Day today. What do we got for, this is not the right day. What the heck is this? Let me get this pulled up here. It is National, hey, I'm down with this one. Napping Day. I became a fan of naps many years ago. I found out, because I'm not one that naps all the time, but I found out if I would come home from work and I would sit and just take about no more than about a 15-minute nap, really energized my evening. Felt like I was a little bit more in tune and not dragging, sleepy. Now, if you go 20 minutes or more, 20 minutes is absolute cutoff for me. Past that, I'm no good. But take about 15 minutes and just sit there and clear the cobwebs, get up, and it's good for the rest of the evening till bedtime. And naps are good because sometimes you don't sleep good. I didn't sleep good. Oh my goodness, Saturday night I got in bed really late. Then the time changed. And I'm not a person that gripes about the time change, and I never do. Although we're on the new time, and I like this time. It's more daylight in the evenings. That's always good. I like that. But I'm a fan of a nap, and so I could be really down with the napping day. I could get into that really well, and a lot of people are like that. But naps are a good thing. It is also National Get Over It Day. Just get over it, whatever your situation may be. Get over yourself. Get over it day. Probably. How many? We've probably told our kids that before. Get over it. They're whiny, they got in trouble for something or whatever. So I'm okay with that one. That's two good ones. Third one is Meatball Day. Yeah, I could be good with that. I never eat meatballs by themselves. It would always be with spaghetti. So that's just me. And I'm not big on crab meat, but it is National Crab Meat Day. So for those of you who like seafood, Crab Meat Day is the day. And one more, it's National Barbie Day. I was never into that. Although I have probably bought, if not hundreds, well over $1,000 worth of Barbie stuff in my life, just for granddaughters. There's no telling. It's probably more than I think, because my wife would have done a lot of that. But we were together many times buying Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, or whatever, and undoubtedly Barbie dolls and accessories were included. And so they always get about making the new Barbie with the new features and the new colors and the new options, and you spend a lot of money. I mean, hey, I don't blame them. You market, people want to have that stuff. So National Barbie Day, and people collect that. All those things we had as young kids, and nowadays people buy one to play with, one to put up. I know people that do that. Sometimes I know one guy. I don't know if he still is living. He would buy one to have and two to put up, because he was doing them all for retirement. He said, I'm not going to keep all this stuff. I'm going to wait for the market to go up for it. He would even get all the little action figures and stuff at like restaurants, the Mickey D's and stuff, and different ones that people come out with. He would buy those and put them up, waiting on and now you can trade all those. Sell them online, eBay, whatever. And they have value, great value sometimes. And then later on, I don't know if you did the Pokemon, but my gosh, you never knew cards would become so expensive just to have. I figured that phenomenon would go away, and boy, was I wrong. Deadly wrong. in that I could have had a lot of money because I was around a lot of that at one time. I could have had just bought. I knew a guy that sold them. I could have got a lot of cards. All right, so there's your National Day. Let's see, this day in history. 1945 was the bombing of Tokyo. The bombing of Tokyo. Today is the bombing of Iran, and they're bombing the heck out of them. It also was in 1990 was the first female Surgeon General. Antonia Novello was the 14th Surgeon General of the United States under the George H.W. Bush administration. From Puerto Rico, she was the first woman and first woman of color to hold the office. Her tenure focused on issues of underage smoking, the AIDS crisis, and immunization. Well, that's a big couple of hot button ones, at least one of them today as you come in. So there is that. Hey, what about Ron Blaney? Congratulations to him. What a race he ran yesterday. I very much enjoyed the race. It was a lot of great contenders for that. Christopher Bell is up there, Hamlin, Larson, last year's champion, and a few others that ran really well. But Blaney, he had to overcome his pit crew twice. Crazy day, a lot of wrecks, and tires being blown off of wrecks. But he held on and he come back. And if anybody does, I don't know if you ever should say deserve. I mean, it is who it is at the end. But if anybody, if you could say deserved a race, it would have been him, because he came from the back twice and got shuffled back one other time a little bit, and he came back and won that thing. If it had been 5 more laps, he might not have made it. I mean, he was being closed on pretty good, but it was a fun race. I really enjoyed that. I want to give a shout out to former Georgia Bulldog Jordan Davis. Did a great job at Georgia. He's done a great job with the Eagles, and he was rewarded today because it's hard to believe he's been in the league now that long. He just got a new 3-year contract extension. They didn't want to get to his excuse me, they didn't want to get to open market, so they went ahead and gave him a 3-year extension. $78 million. So for the next 4 years, because you count the year that he's playing, it would have been, hey, Jerry Barrett, it is a good day to be alive, and good morning to you, sir. It is absolutely a wonderful day to be alive. I'm thankful my wife is home from the hospital today, but yeah, $78 million. Shout out to Jordan Davis. What a great job. He's just a fine young man, worked his tail off. He's worked hard at his job. Is the premier defensive tackle. That's a record-setting extension. And it's $65 million of that $78 million. Guaranteed, no matter what happens to him. If he got hurt today, he's guaranteed $65 million. He is now the highest paid nose tackle in the history of the NFL. Not bad, young man. 13th pick in the first round in 2022. He was to enter his 5th-year option that was worth nearly $13 million. They went ahead and locked him down. Good job, young man. And I know his mom, who supported him all the way through, and he's very close with his mom. She's got to be extremely proud today of her son. I want to give a shout out to him. He's the kind of guy that makes you, you may not like sports, you may not even like the NFL, but he's the kind of guy that makes you like something about it, because he's just a fine young man. He plays very hard, but he's a man of great heart. There's a lot of moves going on as they're lining up. It's getting closer to the NFL draft. A lot of contracts, a lot of cuts were coming up. Some of them have already been happened or will happen in the next week, or not actually this week. It'll be this week. There'll be some cuts that will occur as the league year kicks in, and it saves them money to make that. So there's the free agency, all of the different, and there's trades going on right now. Some of them just really to get out from under deals. But there's to be an NFL player. The contracts. You remember when some of those guys played? I remember, you can remember things like when the first $1 million a year player, and now to see this kind of money thrown around, it's crazy. But to give you an example, not everybody gets that kind of deal. The Texans re-signed defensive tackle Naquan Jones to a 1-year deal. That was for $2 million. So it's still $2 million, but to tell you the difference in what Jordan's getting. Highest paid cornerbacks in the NFL on a per year basis right now. Trent McDuffie, $31 million. Think Jerry, we could work out a deal to play quarterback. Sauce Gardner, 30.1. Derek Stingley Jr. These are all excellent athletes. 30 million. J.C. Horn, 25. Jalen Ramsey, 24.1 million a year. And from the Alabama Crimson Tide, Patrick Surtain, he gets a cool 24 million every year right now. In fact, Trent McDuffie reached agreement on a record $124 million extension that includes, this is crazy, $100 million guaranteed, and makes him the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. He gets traded and a new deal new deal days apart as the Rams and them make a deal. So Rams making him the highest paid. Can you imagine that? Oh, son, how'd you do today? Well, Dad, I got this new contract. It's worth $124 million over 4 years, and $100 million of that is guaranteed. Atta boy, son. Can I just retire? Good job, young man. And the running backs get so mad because they can't get that kind of money because it's just the way it is. You can always go out and get some things. You can go out and get, and you don't have to spend. You just get a new one. Running back, kind of that. There's so many good ones. I mean, not great ones, but really good ones. It's hard to get money at that, and they get hurt a little more often. But I want to, the old position of fullback. It almost went away. Fullback I love those battering ram fullbacks. It has kind of come back around a lot now in the new schemes of the NFL. A lot of teams actively use the fullback. The Atlanta Falcons are one of those. Alec Ingold for the Chargers, he got a 2-year deal for $7.5 million for being a battering ram. That's what they do. They do a little blocking, but mostly their job is to go in and hit somebody as hard as they can to make a hole for the guy behind them. They're fullback. My other heroes in NFL are the long snapper. The long snappers, a good one, can make a couple million, maybe even more a year. And he just has he got to have a good long snap. That's all he does. That's the only job he has on the team. Kind of like punter, but that's a little more involved. Long snapper, it's done. You don't have to worry about getting the punt off or nothing. I may have to put a goalpost around the pulpit where I pastor. Do you think I'll get that kind of money? No, Jerry, 100 cents. Oh, but hey, that's a good idea to have the goalpost. We might get more people paying attention to the sermon. I knew a guy once. I don't know if he still pastors. He may. He's a little bit older than me, so he may still. I hope he's still there because he's not that much older than me. Well, maybe he's a little bit more than I think anybody. He's a little older than me. But I remember him saying, I took a class with him, kind of like at Antioch Baptist Bible College. There's one up here, and I took a couple classes with him before I ever ran into Antioch. And I don't even know how I ran into Dr. Kershey. I don't remember how I did that. But anyway, he was talking about that one of his Sunday mornings, they had TVs, monitors in their service. And he showed, during a break or something, he was showing an NFL clip of the hardest hits in NFL history or something. He said every guy in the service was looking up at that TV before they started back in. They had a little break. And he did that on purpose to get their attention. So every guy sitting here paying attention, shaking hands. Well, hey, look at that hit, He said it worked like a charm. So, hey, maybe a little goalpost. Pay attention, score a touchdown. Well, you know what? When somebody gets saved, it is a celebration, and it's a lot more than a touchdown could ever be. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. On Patriot Nation News last night, we covered a little bit of news. Not much has changed this morning, but there are a little bit of information. The Iranians have selected a new leader. He is the son of Ali Khamenei. And we'll see if he can keep his head down in the hole, because I think if he sticks it up anywhere or even down in the hole, I think even in the hole, the Israelis are going to find a missile bomb, bunker buster, something to kill him. But they have selected him. The betting odds in Vegas are probably on. How much longer can this guy remain the leader of Iran? But it's an interesting headline that jumps up. The president says Iran's war is a mutual decision with Israel. It's the first time I've seen that spoken by him in that way. Now, granted, they're working together. I'm not trying to put more in this, but people will take that headline and be very upset. Mutual decision. Because there are a couple of different ideas about what we want to see as mission accomplished, mission completed, versus what they want. And interesting that he would say it that way. He said that decision will be made jointly with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, calling it a mutual determination between the two leaders. He emphasized close coordination between Washington and Jerusalem as the conflict continues. I think it's mutual a little bit. We've been talking. I'll make a decision at the right time, but everything's going to be taken into account. When asked whether he alone would decide when the war would end, well, he said unconditional surrender. I don't think they're going to get there. They may put up the white flag lying. I mean, they don't care to lie. But I don't think they'll do that. He suggests that while Netanyahu will have input, the final decision ultimately rests with him. But he's going to take in how he feels about it. Iran was going to destroy Israel and everything else around it. We've worked together. We've destroyed a country that wanted to destroy Israel. Well, not really destroy the country. You destroyed their military capability. So interesting news. He declined to speculate on whether Israel would continue the war even if the United States eventually halted its own military operations. I don't think it's going to be necessary. When asked about the possibility, they won't have to hit any naval vessels or planes. That's for sure. I think all anti-aircraft, radar situations, all those have already been destroyed. He avoided committing to a specific time frame for the ending of the conflict. However, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said Friday that the administration expects the war to last roughly 4 to 6 weeks. That's the timeline we've all been hearing. So that would say about another month. He spoke with the Times of Israel shortly after Iranian state media reported that the country's Assembly of Experts. I like that they call themselves the Assembly of Experts. We're the smartest of the smart. Who wants to be the leader? I think the Assembly of Experts, smart enough to not become the leader, they select someone to be the leader and say, you are up. Good luck to you, as they anoint you the new leader. As they selected, their new leader, Khamenei, Taba, however you say his name. Excuse me. Trump warned that any new Iranian leadership would face consequences if it challenges U.S. authority. In an interview with ABC News, Trump said Iran's next leader would not last long, quote unquote, if he did not have approval from Washington. I don't think that they got approval. I just don't think it's going to, as long as he keeps his head down in the hole, I don't think the Americans might not mess with him. The Israelis are going to kill the head of the snake. His life is now put. His wife is down at the. She's down talking to the lawyers, making sure that the will for her husband everything is set. Making sure she's got the passwords on all banking accounts and the wherever they've got things hid, knowing where the passcodes are, and all those things. You forget passwords. And, she wants to make sure all those are reset because as this Monday kicks off, he's now on a clock, an extermination clock. I mean, seriously, the guy ain't going to last long. Senator Rick Scott said Trump was right to confront Iran's nuclear threat. He said he told Newsmax on Sunday that the United States could not allow Tehran to rebuild its nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs. He added on a special edition of The Record with Greta Van Susteren that Iran had already pursued nuclear weapons and posed a direct threat to Americans and U.S. allies. They had a ballistic missile program, adding that if Iran obtained nuclear weapons, it would be no different than North Korea, as the Middle Eastern country would use them. Scott is a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, said the president's actions were necessary to prevent American casualties. I want Americans to stay alive. I want our military members to stay alive. If they get the nuclear weapon, Americans will die. If they continue to build their ballistic missile programs, Americans will die. So Trump did the right thing, and I'm glad he did it. At the same time, he expressed condolences to the families of U.S. service members killed in action, including a Floridian, and noted the deaths of 2 service members in southern Lebanon. He also criticized British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, saying the United Kingdom had not been sufficiently supportive of U.S. operations there. So this is the ongoing back and forth that we're hearing between those. Birthdays today, I just want to mention a couple today for birthdays. Freddie Prinze Jr., 50 years old. Seems weird. I remember him being so young. 50 years old. Wow. And let's see. I think I had one more. It was very slow today. Bob Bergen, 62, another actor. I'm familiar with him. A little older for you younger crowd. Maybe not so much today. And there's a couple of other actors that I see in here today, but nothing stands out. Tony Campos, 53, a guitarist. I know him. Oh, I knew I had one more. Lynn Redgrave passed from this life to the next in 2010. Loved some of her stuff as an actress. She did a lot of stuff that I really, really enjoyed. So there's a kickoff to today, praying for the military as they continue operations against Iran. Israel is also running a dual operation in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah. So you're going to be hearing a lot about that. We'll see. Gas prices have skyrocketed. Talked about this last night. Over $100 a barrel for oil, which I think is ridiculous because we should be drill, baby, drill. We shouldn't be having to worry about it. We should say we have all we need. Well, charge what you want. Yeah, goods and services go up that we import, but that's the point. We need to make more here in America, more things here. But they say for you, Temu and Amazon order people that order from there, and that's a lot. That's the two of the biggest. Shein is another one. 3 of the biggest things are ordered from online. And those prices will go up because some of those things and delays in shipping because they're coming out of the strait. And there has been threats. And some of the shipping companies have told their captains, stand down. We're not going to put you at risk or the cargo from the Iranians. So they've got to get that settled really quickly. Isn't it amazing in this day and time? At this point in history, before drones and the missile capability of a country like Iran, at this point, they would have waved the white flag without ground troops. I mean, because they have nothing left but that. I mean, their ships are all at the bottom of the sea. Their ability to even have those ships, I'm sure those shipping docks and whatever they bring them up to, I'm sure they've been destroyed. They have no radar. That's all been knocked out. No anti-aircraft. All those batteries have been knocked out. A lot of their military is dead. Not all of it. They still have tanks and things like that. But they would be waving the white flag because the next thing would be a ground invasion. But they still have the ability to shoot back right now because they haven't been able to knock out all the mobile rocket launchers and the drones. Drones have changed the theater of war. We saw that for the first time, the importance of it in Ukraine-Russia war. And that is one of the reasons that has become a slog. That they just can't advance as much as they would like to. The soldiers in the field are afraid of the drones. I mean, they can be launched and they can run below radar, and the ones that are connected, they can't be jammed. So, they can run these with infrared at night. I mean, you're hiding in a bunker, you're hiding, as best you can, and they carry enough payload to do massive amounts of damage. I mean, these things get pretty big. And they're all guided. They can see where they're going. They got GPS. They got video on them. They can see exactly what's going on. It has changed war. And countries, I'd say the United States is behind. Has been behind a little bit in this area. And Ukraine, oddly enough, has become a leader in this area. Russia, but Iran has been has been a builder of drones for Russia. So they have put a lot of they've been getting a lot of experience in the field, and we're catching up. We have drones, but not to say we don't have them, but there's a lot of intel coming from the field where they use. That's anytime you have war, you're going to learn more, and so they have been a leader in this. And the ones that were connected that can be up to 8, 9, even 12 miles in a distance that's connected by fiber optics can be ran by a 3-man team. That has changed the battlefield because you don't have to have this line as much as you still have that, but you can send teams in behind the enemy lines. It's easy to sneak 2 or 3 men, into an area, and then they've got this drone flying around. Somebody sticks their head out, or they're trying to find a munitions bunker or something, and they can't be jammed. If they can be seen, they can be shot. But it has caused a new field PTSD situation. The buzzing of the drone, it has caused a lot of PTSD issues in the soldiers on the Ukrainian side. They don't shuffle their soldiers back and forth to give them breaks, so they get a psychosis where they actually run out from the bunker. It's like the walls are closing in. They can't take it anymore. They run out. They've been killed or injured that way as the drones are humming. When they do cycle to the rear to get some sort of R&R, little things kicking on that makes the same whirring sound really messes with them. So it is a new battlefield. And we saw this coming years ago. They talked about all this stuff, weapons that would, seek and destroy, and even nanotechnology and all that stuff. The theater of war is changing. You're still going to have artillery. You're still going to have all the traditional things. But by and large, this is, war is ran from some geeky looking guy in an office cubicle in America somewhere who is tapped into the battlefield and is, sending out weapons of destruction and seeking and destroying. They're not in the battle. They're just or they're on a ship. They could be anywhere. They don't have to be anywhere near the battlefield. They just send these things out. We saw Ukraine when they were able to hit the planes of Russia on their tarmacs. They snuck in the drones and just lifted them out of trucks. And, so there's all kind of applications that can be done with that. And here's the thing. What if in drone world, I don't know how if this is even feasible, but I would suspect that it would be, that you could put some sort of a suitcase nuclear device on a drone. Think of how scary that is. That if you were able to get just one of those through, and you were able to hit a major city or a water supply dam, something like that, how quickly things could change. That's a scary thought. And there's a lot of countries that are not beyond it, chemical warfare. Then not only the explosives is going to be killing soldiers and maiming them and injuring them and all that, but now you have what if, and there's countries out there that'll do it, and Iran will be one of them. What if they started dropping chemical warfare on our soldiers? Just think about that. That's a nice thought on your Monday, but it definitely could happen. Those type of things have been out there for decades that have been used by some rogue countries, like even against their own people. Certainly, Syria has done it. Iraq did it, and they did that through different means. But they could easily put that stuff on a drone. And there's enough labs out there around that's putting this stuff together. Very deadly things and scary. So it's turning into more of the, for lack of a better expression, the video game war. But that's kind of where it's been. That's where it's been heading. And, they said years ago, 20 years or more ago, we heard that the battlefield would become more, unmanned, that you wouldn't have to put men in the field, that you would send in the machines. And that goes right along with what we're seeing with the building up of with the use of AI and clone, the robots and stuff, Elon and different, they're making these things. That's where we're going. It'd be, the planes would be pilotless. And it's not going to be totally that, but we're heading that way. That we will not put men in the battlefield as much. They will be hidden in the back line, so to speak, safety, and we'll be sending in the machines. That's where we're headed. I mean, we're there. All those movies we watched, we're on the precipice of a new day, and traditional warfare is there'll always be a need for carrier fleets and all that, but the traditional war is over. And what we're seeing, Russia fights a very traditional war. Russia fights a very they have their mentality is just pummel you. I mean, that's what they do. They try to surround the city and just pummel it into smithereens. That type of warfare, it's not as if, I mean, yeah, you do, they figure they destroy the places for them to live, their will to live, they're destroying their country. That's old way thinking though, and it's not effective in Ukraine. It has gained them some ground, but think of what this war was supposed to be over between Russia and Ukraine. Some generals were saying in 60 days, 2 months, less than 60 days, this war will be over. I can still remember Brian Holt and different ones, retired military, who were saying on all the national shows that this war would not last. It might even last less than 30 days, that Russia's military might would go in. And could they have unleashed more? Sure, because they have nuclear, but they sent in a lot, and they have lost a lot of soldiers. And I've had people challenge me on that's lies. It's not lies. You can go read the stories out of Russia of the people who are visiting the tarmac, who are picking up their dead loved ones daily, coming home in the body bags. This is not. I mean, people think everything is a sob today. That everything it's all mystery. It's all TV produced. The people in Russia will tell you that. I've talked to them live on the air on my radio program, and they're ticked off about it. I mean, they want this thing over with. They don't like Ukraine at all, but they want it over with. They're sick of it, and because the carnage that's occurred. Remember, I mean, early on in the war, he has his frontline soldiers, not the best of the best, but he was sending in some pretty good soldiers, and a lot of those were getting annihilated. Remember, he emptied the jails and gave them an opportunity for freedom. I mean, he unleashed some bad people. He was working with the you know the the paramilitary and stuff like that. People who were very had worked with him in Chechnya and even the Chechens. Remember the death squad. Remember the death squads that Putin sent in to kill Zelensky. The Chechen death squads. We hadn't heard about them in a long time. They're still, I guess, out there looking, but that they expected him to be killed at any time. I mean, he remember when he was hardly ever seen but in the bunker. I mean, he travels all over the world now, but at that time they were afraid to. I mean, they were on the outskirts of Kiev, and it got stymied. I mean, the whole thing changed on them. So the field, the Wagner group. That's right, Broski. I forgot the name. The Wagner group. That's what I was thinking of. Paid them a lot of money, and they were a very effective group. But they've not been able, and they're fighting over inches, and they've taken over a large swath of land, but they have not accomplished the mission. And here we are in the fourth year of that war. That was supposed to. A lot of the reason for that is the drones. That they've mined the land, and of course the winters play a part. You can't move the tanks as much, but remember that one year? I mean, the first summer after the first winter of the war, they said the Russians were going to put this offensive on, and they were going to drive to Kiev and all that, at least slice half the country in two, and it was going to be right. Well, it didn't happen. It still hasn't happened, and even towns that Russia has been fighting for and losing a lot of men over. And the Ukrainians too, in the eastern Ukraine, they have won a couple of cities almost fully surrounded, but they can't close the deal, and that slog goes on day by day, and the soldiers keep dying or getting injured, but nobody knows the exact total. But it's well over 100,000 counting both sides, and you can tell me because look, they're picking up men off the streets, they're making people, forcing them into battle. The battle lines, injured, has been gone back to the battlefield. There are reports that there are people on crutches on the front line for Russia that are in, you can get in the foxhole or whatever and carry a gun. That's the manpower problem they have. They'll still get more. I mean, every year more men become military age, whatever they decide that age is. That's not 18. I think they've probably got some minors out there, to be honest, on both sides. But it has become a slog. So the field of war has changed. Now, granted, Russia unleashed the full onslaught of what they have. They could do that, but then that would bring in other consequences for them, and they know that because at that point it would almost force the world's hand, and he knows that. So nobody said that they have unleashed everything they have, but usually in war nobody does. I mean, in any war we've had, with the exception of maybe, and really they didn't unleash everything we had. We did on the Japanese go to a point that we hope we never have to do again. But and that would be the the biggest example of what has been used in the battlefield. But they could have done more. And Russia, he could have used. He's got the same resources for chemical warfare and all that. He's decided not to. That would have been a possibility as well. But this traditional fight is he has gotten a lot of land, but there is a big battle line, and he didn't accomplish. He didn't close off the sea. They've had a number of ships that have been sunk. So Odessa they're still shipping grain and everything out of Ukraine. That has given them money to continue the war machine. They do control the skies, but again, on the ground, they've gained ground, but a lot of key positions are still being held by Ukraine. And you got to give the Ukrainians a lot of credit for the fight that they have put up. I don't like Zelensky, but just looking at it strictly from a military look, I mean, you got to give them some credit because they were expected to roll up and just run away, and they have withstood. And that battle line has to be very thin at some points. I mean, they don't have the manpower. I think the use of drones. I think the soldiers are scared to go forward. They've seen what had happened to those who have, and even under threats of punishment, death, or whatever from their own superiors, the soldiers are slow to move. I mean, they see the cannon fodder that they've become on both sides. And again, Ukraine is playing a defensive position where the Russians are on the offensive. Ukraine at some points have went on the offense, but mainly they're setting up defensive lines. So heavy on the mines, drones, artillery, making them gain it by the inch and executing them in mass. And the Russian soldiers are like, this is certain death. I don't care how elite your forces are, if they just keep seeing the same thing happen, the next guy up is thinking, dude, I don't want to go out there. So a lot of defections. There have been instances of Russian soldiers running across the line with the white flag saying, take me, I'm done. Because I'd rather be known as a coward and be alive than I'm fixing to get obliterated. And, these are young men, and they just like, I've had enough. I mean, look at all the Russian soldiers, eligible age, men who got out of Russia. Their families got them out of there. They don't want this war. Russian people do not want this war. They have a lot of Russian pride, a lot of patriotism, but they don't want the war. I mean, who wants to keep sending these young men into their deaths? It doesn't get talked about much, but they say the daily arrivals at Moscow airport, brutal. So I don't know. We will see. And then where's the kids? Where's the kids? Where's all them kids? So the president, this was a fail for him. He said he would end it. It has not happened. He's still trying to pump that, but you notice that's taken a back seat. Broski, I'm surprised there haven't been more drone attacks on Moscow, and I am too. And I think the only reason that hasn't happened, I think the United States of America. I think we have told him to back off on that. If we decide not to have any future help there, I think it would pick up. Because they did do a handful, and they were effective. I mean, they did knock out some things. I think, but I am shocked because he has shown that. It's like every few months or weeks or months, Zelensky pulls out some big attack, and gains a lot of attention. Some of those were Moscow, but can you imagine hitting the Kremlin? Can you imagine? And, can you imagine the kind of hit that happened in Iran if that happened in Russia? Wow. Can you imagine an escalation there? There's a group way back when they claim, Putin died. There's a Telegram site out there, and they claimed he had all kind of health issues, including AIDS, and died. And that the guy that is there is a lookalike, and that the generals of the KGB and all that, the leaders, they're the ones running the nation. I swear. I used to read their stuff daily. It was funny, fascinating to read. Of course, people say that's bunk, and it's really him. But they kind of the same thing. You're looking at various pictures of people who, whether it's Biden or whoever is in bad health, that it's a clone, it's a stand-in, it's whatever. They said the same thing about him. But I just thought it was fascinating. You could go there on Telegram, and it was you translated from Russian into into English, and they do a daily talk of his agenda, his meetings, and what he was doing. I read it a lot when the Wagner Group was really involved because the intel was fascinating out there. I don't know how much of it was true, if any of it was true, but it was fascinating to read. So, just try seeing where it's at. The guy who cracks me up, he's an idiot. He's American college educated, is Medved. That guy, he wants to see America just toast. He's always making these big threats and stuff, He's got no power really whatsoever. But he likes to run that mouth. Medved, I think, is his name for Russia. He talks a big game, but he's just, he reminds me of Baghdad Bob, the guy in Iraq who would always be talking that the imperialists are dying, that we are slaughtering the enemy. They have nothing left. It'll be the end of the war in moments. Our forces have pushed them back. And you can hear the bombs going on outside of his TV studio, shaking, lights going on and off. That's our forces. They're winning. Oh boy, that guy. You're talking about a guy that I would have loved to have interviewed. Would be that guy. I would just like to know, who wrote your stuff, because I'm sure there was a gun there, telling him to report good news. We're winning. You imagine, the beret. Remember, he would come out and give the war reports. I wonder if he's still living. I bet he died. That's been a long time ago, that first war. But talk about a guy that really put on the act for as long as he could until they knocked out all power to his studio and came in and got him. They put a stop to the media. That guy was selling it every day. I just see some guy on. They said not to worry. We're winning. As they're watching these strange planes in the air that look like a bat. They can't pick him up on their radar. They're bombing. Is that our stuff? Is that our planes? They just said we're winning. I mean, it's a bad time, but you have to find humor in some of those things. To me, it reminded me of wrestling. The little, speeches and stuff, what they were going to do, and then go out and get toasted, But that's kind of what he was doing. He was talking about how bad, how great they were. And granted, that was a strong military in the region, no doubt. Saddam Hussein had amassed his military was talked about more than the Revolutionary Guard of Iran. He was. Even though he never conquered Iran, he wanted to. I've wondered with the weakening of Iran, and they are weakened. They still have a strong military, a lot of tanks and artillery and stuff. I just wondered if there's some dictator over there going, this might be a good time once the Americans and the Israelis leave. Maybe we just invade. I don't know that Iraq would do that. Although, it just makes me wonder, though, when you weaken an enemy, over there, weakness is not good. That's when your enemies, they begin to think, maybe we could take over Tehran ourselves. Thank you, Americans. The Russian government has returned to being an authoritarian dictatorship. Putin revised their constitution for a third time so he can rule until 2036. Yeah, same old story, ain't it? And I guess by 2036, he hopes to have all of the former republics and everything that was under Mother Russia back in the fold. I wonder, you have to wonder, what in his demented mind or in his dictator mind or whatever, what his end game is. Because nobody seems to know. Some say he would never invade Europe, but he's made threats. Would he invade a Lithuania? Would he, invade Netherlands? Whoever, Switzerland. Some of the countries that were always the most neutral, they are spending a lot of money on military hardware. They are building up their military. They believe it's a possibility. The Poles believe that it's very possible because they have spent a lot of money on military hardware. and they definitely, there's some of those countries over there that itching to, they've sort of been itching getting this thing for a while. They've held out, but there's people in the country that say no, we're not going to do that. But there's I would say 5 to 6 countries over there that they're not huge, but they've really built up their military and they're concerned, and I can see that. What about the old fatso in Belarus? And I guess I shouldn't say that in that way, but he wants to be involved so much. He licks Putin's boots. What's that guy's name? I can't think of his name right now. What a blowhard. It's like he so wants to be involved. He runs his mouth all the time. He lets the Russians use their airport and all that. I think a few attacks have taken place from the country, but he looks like he's a drunk. Honestly, I mean, he has that look. He just looks like a big old tub drunk that wants to. He wants that so bad. I really thought he was going to get involved in this, but it's like he's on. I don't know if the Russians tell him no, or if he's afraid of getting his butt kicked by the Ukrainians, because they're on their border too, and he has so wanted to be in this war. He has made threats because I kind of think he's going to get lit up. I think he knows it. He's not as bad. The only reason he's even thinks he's bad is because of Russia, and he's trying to talk a big game, but he don't have a big game. It's fun to look at these things, And if we go all the way back, maybe we could have avoided all this. Some of the things about trying to put Patriot batteries and stuff in the country of Georgia. Yeah, Lushenko. Guy looks like a man. Doesn't he look like a vodka drunk? I mean, he does to me. He's gorging on some sweets, getting drunk every day. He's whereas Putin he strikes a certain pose when you see him. He commands. This guy has no command to him. He is your typical dictator, just a slob, and he just doesn't look. He's a brute. He doesn't look smart at all. Like he's not very bright. He's like one of the old mafia leaders or something. They just know to kill, fight street by street. He just looks like he's not that smart, that he rules by an iron hand. And he so wants to be like Putin. He so wants to be out there and be revered and feared, but he just looks like he's an idiot. I mean, that's what every time I hear him speak, it just doesn't even sound right. Like you're not afraid of him. But I don't think the Ukrainians have any fear of this guy or what he could do. I think they would light him up. I think the only reason he can be out there like Chicken Little is because of Russia. I think he likes to run his mouth. He looks like an old school communist. He does. He really does. He is that from bygone days. I mean, that's what it looks like. It looks like that kind of guy. And yeah, I don't want to see more war, but there's a couple of times I've almost wished he would make that mistake because I really think the Ukrainians would light him up. I really do. They're not Russia. He thinks he's bad. Looks like I think I can. I think we can attack their flank. I bet he's told Putin. Putin was like, yeah, just stay out of it. We got it. Just leave it alone. No. I can see him going, N-O means no. If you do that, I'll remove you. You just do what I tell you to do. I could see that going. It's like, okay, boss. He's like Biff, right? Back to the Future. He's like Biff, that's what he looks like. But as a dictator, old school communist dictator, Biff. Yes, sir. Okay. I can do it. I'm bad. I know I can win. No, you just do what I tell you and shut up. Drink some more vodka. We'll get together soon over some borscht. All right, folks, that's the show this morning. Have a great day. I got to go get things done, go to work. Back to work. I did work over the weekend in my other job. Back to work today. Got a big week. Got a lot of things to get done. Thank you for your support. Like, follow, share. We'll see you tonight. Maybe with somebody new in the studio. I think we're going to be able to do that today. But have a great day. Blessings to you. Pray for our troops, as always, no matter how you feel about the war. Pray for the troops. They deserve our support. They are American citizens. If they're stationed there or they've been sent there, that's the sons and daughters of America. Let's pray for them today. Israel's going to do what Israel does, but let's pray for our troops because they're not going to stop fighting over there. But let's get our mission accomplished as best we can and get the heck out. and then let what happens happen. See y'all tonight. There it is.